everybody, it's Romania Black. We're on episode 12 of season 4 of Attack on Titan. It's Sunday night as I'm recording this. Episode 9 has just aired on Patreon, episode 7 on YouTube, so I'm recording a little bit ahead, I'm trying to build up a little bit ahead so I have plenty of time to plan out the recap, because I feel like the recap is going to have a lot to talk about, so I'm trying to stay at least a couple episodes ahead just so that I have plenty of time to plan. And I've got stuff going on in April and March, so I've got stuff to worry about, lots of things like that. But the new episode of season 4 part 2 just came out today, and so of course I've muted everything on Twitter and YouTube, so I'm like, I'll just watch a new episode of this so that I'll, feel like I'm watching an episode of Attack on Titan with you all, even though I'm several episodes behind. It's fine. It's fine. So I did want to make note that someone on Twitter did tell me today, and I put your name right up here, but they did tell me today that the opening for season 4 part 2 should be able to be watched like 5 or 6 episodes in by like episode 22. So I'm like, oh good, there's at least, it's kind of like season 3 part 2. There is a point I can watch the OP. It's just later down, so I'm not spoiled. Thank you. But yeah, I've got a couple comments, not that many. I guess I say not that many. I guess a lot of people, most of the comments are on episodes 7 and 9 were comments that I either talked about in the discussion or that I'm going to bring up in a future reaction. So I didn't need to bring them up here. But I have a feeling with episodes 8 and episodes 10, there may be a lot more comments. So we'll see. But I did have a couple of comments. Dingy and Pachita, as well as Sacha Purvis, both noted that going back to episode 9, that the flowers Niccolo brought, their meaning meant eternal love. So yeah, Niccolo had a thing with Sasha. It's sad. It's really sad. Especially Nathan Hardy and Sacha Purvis also noted that when Sasha says her last word, which was supposedly meat, that the word was Niku. And so it's like, could it have been meat, or was it Niku, like her trying to say Niccolo? We don't know. It's a fan theory apparently, but I'm like, that's so tragic. And the fact that we don't know is like, yeah, you could go there if you wanted to and it would make sense, or it could be meat and it would make sense. Makes sense in both accounts, right? So that's really sad. Christopher Peterson talked about how Yelena and Hange both have a thing for Titans. And yeah, that's true. Back in episode 9, we see Yelena. Yelena didn't fall for Zeke the human. She fell for Zeke in the form of the Beast Titan. So Yelena and Hange both having a thing for these Titan forms. Very interesting. I also want to note that some dude, as well as Nijay, noted that Eren and Mikasa's words at the end of episode 10 were the same from Mikasa's flashback, where she saw Eren being strangled back in episode 6 of season 1, and that the whole win to fight, to win you have to live you have to win, and to win you have to fight, like those words all came back from that and came full circle. And I think that's really, really interesting to show that Mikasa and Eren are kind of in the same headspace at the moment. That's interesting. But also, talking about how something from episode 6 in season 1 that came from such a primal place is now in such, like, in that moment when Eren and them were being strangled, it was like, it's do or die. And it seemed like so primal and simple then. And now the world of Attack on Titan is so complex and grandiose that those words take on a different meaning. And it's interesting. And then finally, like I said, I don't have a lot of notes for this going into this episode, so it's kind of definitely going to be a much shorter intro than usual. But AJN noted in episode 8 that Kenny's words, "No one will ever die, no one will ever be or is truly free." I wanted to bring that up because going back to this whole discussion of freedom and Eren's concept, like Eren's like, if we destroy all our enemies, will we be free? And by Kenny's logic and by Erwin's logic, no. Kenny's like, no one is ever truly free. We're all slaves to something. We have to be to survive. Something has to keep us going. And as several of you have noted, it doesn't necessarily, the phrase to be a slave to something doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. Like Kuchel wanted her children, like she was protective of her children. That kept her going. That's not a bad thing. And so that kind of is interesting going into this ideology that Eren supposedly has, where Eren's like, well, I'll achieve true freedom if I do A, B, and C. And by Kenny's logic, no, you won't. You won't ever be truly free. Something will always be there. And that kind of ties back to Erwin. I've always related Erwin and Kenny because I think they're very similar characters, which is funny because they're both connected to Levi. But Erwin's the same way. He told Pixis, he's like, as long as humans exist, there's going to be conflict. We can't stop that. So it's like, what do you do then? So I think that's very interesting, and I wanted to make note about that because as soon as AJN said that, I was like, oh yeah, okay, that's just add that onto the fire, right? But yeah, look at this, a 5-minute intro. Maybe this entire discussion won't be 2 hours. So we'll see. But yeah, I poured myself a drink and I was like, you know what? I was like, it's time. It's time. I've been snowed in all weekend. I'm ready to watch episode 12 and see what happens. I pulled up the thumbnail. I pulled up the screen to get us started. And it's a picture of Armin, I'm assuming, looking at Annie. Again, y'all, Sasha Purvis and I had a discussion on Patreon. Just the Annie Armin ship, I'm on board with it. I'm here for it. I was like, and Sasha brought up a really good point saying that, you know, Lara Tyburn, despite being in the crystal, could hear what was going on. So if Annie's been asleep this whole time, but Armin's been confiding in her and she's been listening to everything, what do we do with that? So, Nathan Hardy also had a very suggestive thing on Patreon about Armin and this whole thing with Bertolt's memories, and I'm not going to repeat it on here, but if you're on Patreon and probably saw that, I got a good laugh out of that. So thank you, Nathan. I thought about it, but I was like, mine was in the gutter. So let's not waste any more time, shall we? I'm pretty excited to start episode 12. Okay. Exciting. So we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1. And let's just see what happens, shall we? I know what's going to be the thumbnail. I feel like I think I know what's going to be the thumbnail and what is probably the thumbnail on every reaction to this episode, because that damn coat-wearing Y-Mappa. Why have you made Eren hot? I was talking to a fellow patron and friend Esteban on Tumblr, and was just like, man, episodes 10 and 11, well, not episode 11, episode 9 and 10, I was like, man, Eren got ripped. He's like, you could grate cheese on them abs. And I'm like, you could! God, what? That's what will solve all of our conflicts. This episode, oh my God, so they're already there. Peeking them have infiltrated. That took no time. Wasted no time. I'm glad to know that 6 months for a global alliance? Nah, we get there in 2 days. We got this. So, God, that brings up so many questions, though, of if Reiner and Porco and PIECK and Colt are already there. They're already there looking for Eren. And they're looking for Eren, too. Looking for Zeke and Eren and Gabi and Falco. They're already looking for them. I'm like, what is going to happen when they run into Zeke? Because was Zeke preparing? There's a lot of you have said on both Patreon and YouTube, they're like, we'll get to Zeke. And I'm like, I get it. The whole thing with Zeke is a mystery. And I feel like they're building Zeke up to be the mystery that we don't know. We don't know Zeke's full plan. We don't know his full intentions. We don't know his full backstory. Zeke is a giant question mark. And I don't know how to feel about him. I have never known really how to feel about Zeke. I felt bad for him as a kid. Because Grisha was basically just pushing his indoctrination on him. But I'm like, if Grisha was pushing this restorationist ideology on Zeke, and I'm like, if Zeke is just going along with the same restorationist ideology, then what was the point of turning him and Dinah in the first place? What's the deal? So we still have a lot to talk about with Zeke, and I don't want to know. I feel like that's the big mystery, is knowing Zeke's intentions, and he's being intentionally mysterious. And I feel like Isayama, he's building up to it. We're getting closer, but I can't believe I've got to write down Zachary. Zachary's dead. Wow. I'm just kind of floored that just happened. We haven't had deaths in a while, but old Zachary, the premier, him and those other guys, they died, and it was all Flock. Flock with them recruits. And I'm assuming they got Louise and the other guys out of there. Yeah, because I think they were with Flock, but holy crap. Okay, and poor Armin and Mikasa. They're like, we just want to talk to Eren and find out what the deal is, and they're not getting that opportunity. And then Connie, I feel like Connie's given up on Eren. Connie's like, ever since Sasha died, Connie's like, nope, not on board anymore. And Jean's trying to be as level-headed as he can and keep it all together, but Connie is doubting Mikasa, and just straight up not having a fun time, bro. That's where we're at. But God, we need to break this down. I like instantly, as soon as this episode was over, I was like, whiteboard crew, and here we come. I was like, because this episode from the start, when the episode was first starting out, I was like, okay, all right, there's little things to talk about. And then once the old premier's office blows up, it's like, and it's the chair. They rigged that chair with the explosives. Of all things, that torture chair that he had, his greatest creation came back to be his destruction. But like Pix has said, I do agree that if Zachary was going to go out some way, it would be with a bang. It'd be through revolution. It's through a coup. It's literally through a military coup. Zachary started one because he's like, it needed to happen, and he died by one. So, man, we toast Zachary. That's going to be a fun time. But, okay, so I'm going to put some different characters, different places, because we need to talk about where they're at. So I'm going to put Armin. We're going to put Armin over here. Oh, Armin. Interactions that I never thought would happen. Armin and Hitch. Like, what the heck? So, he's over here with Hitch and Annie. Armin's gotten full choice of the ladies of the military corps. But yeah, Armin, he likes Annie. I'm like, oh, that's kind of sweet. I'm kind of all about it. But yeah, we were all talking about this in comments about Armin's. It's been set up since season 1. And here's the thing. I like to think, as I've noted with other episodes, that Armin's attraction to Annie is not just because of Bertolt. It's not because of the memories. And Sasha Purvis was noting in her Patreon in their Patreon comment that that it's kind of messed up. I don't want to think of Bertolt's memories influencing Armin, because that would also imply that Eren would have an attraction to Carla, which no. So this is all predating Armin getting the Colossal Titan powers. Like, who knows? We don't know how long Armin has been confiding in Annie. Armin may have been confiding in Annie well before he got the Colossal Titan powers. It'd be kind of funny if this whole story, he's been talking to her this whole time, and the whole narration of the story leading up to this point has always been to her. That would be kind of cool if the narration of the story that we've seen from episode 1 has been Armin retelling the story to Annie. I wish Annie would get out of that crystal. I wondered about that. Okay, with Porco and them there, technically, is she getting rescued? Is she, right? Are Reiner and them going to try to bust her out? Is that going to be a thing? The thing is, Porco's jaw can break through crystals, but we saw what that did to Lara Tiber. I don't think we want to kill Annie, because I don't think Porco has enough control over it. He could probably, break parts of it off and get her out of there. That's very possible. But I like, if you look at this too, I'm rewatching the episode, and if you look at it, the stakes of, they've slowly melted into the crystal. It's kind of weird. But yeah, Armin just sitting there looking at her. Armin likes Annie. And yeah, Hitch is like, you got a crush on her, and he doesn't deny it. But yeah, he doesn't realize Hitch is there. Hitch is like, you're not allowed to touch the girl, mister. And our poor boy, our poor Armin, he gets so flustered. He's like, it's not what you think. I wasn't sexually assaulting her. It's fine. He tries to pass off his Titan memories have been known to transfer by touch. So he's like, I just thought I might learn something important. It's like, I wasn't doing anything inappropriate, really. And Hitch is like, well, you're a guy after all. I bet you want to learn all about Annie. Like, Hitch doesn't beat around the bush. And Armin's like, oh my God, that's so embarrassing. No. I love that Armin's like, no, I'm sorry. Don't ban me from coming back. He's like, don't keep me from coming back here. I love that. He wants to be able to keep coming back to talk to Annie. And that's so sweet. And Hitch, of course, is like, dude, you're not the only one that talks to her. I love this moment. Hitch says, I wasn't planning to. Annie would get bored listening to only me. I love that. I love the idea that Annie has had both Hitch and Armin talking to her this whole time. Because Hitch always wanted to be her friend. And this is the only way she can, communicate with her. Now that Marlowe's gone, I'm sure that she wants to talk to her more. And Armin, now that Eren's not with him anymore and Mikasa's distant from him, he's like, I need somebody to talk to. And Annie's that person he can confide in. I love Hitch says, unbelievable. You're so popular and all you do is sleep. So yeah, it's like, is Annie really asleep? Has she been subconsciously hearing all of this? If they rescue her, if Porco and Reiner and the others rescue Annie, is she going to wake up and be like, hey, so Been hearing all some funky things from Armin and Hitch. Just so you know, I'm just so curious about that. That's the thing, Annie's character, I'm like, Isayama's had her in stasis for basically 3 seasons. And I'm like, is she just gonna get killed? Is she gonna get rescued? Is she just gonna stay in that crystal pod forever? Like Sleeping Beauty? Like, what we doing? And I know eventually we'll find out, but God, it's really gonna suck if like Eren kills her or something, and Armin's like, why? I don't know, because Eren has the warhammer powers now. But yeah, I love this dynamic of Hitch and Armin. Hitch and Armin are 2 characters that I never thought I would see in this show interacting with one another, but they knew each other back from Trust, so, and that episode was called Trust, so here we are, right? And a lot of you noted that Trust was the episode that did not feature Eren in it. It was like the first time in the series we hadn't seen Eren in an episode, and it was called Trust. And then the second time we don't see Eren in an episode, it's an episode called Deceiver. Fun times. Great how that works out. But yeah, so they're over there. We're going to come back to Armin at some point, because he and Mikasa, they just want to talk to Eren. They're like, if we could just talk to him, and it's just, nothing's working out. And what makes me kind of frustrated in all this is that Eren, Mikasa and Armin are his 2 best friends. He didn't try to bring them over. He didn't try to bring them over with... But Flock would say that, I'm sure that our Burger King crown-wearing Flock has told Eren that Armin and Mikasa were in the room when the recruits and him were taken to their cells, and Armin and Mikasa are with the military. Right? And Flock's like, they're not going to come over to your side. They're with Hange and the others. I'm sure that's what Flock has told him, and so Eren doesn't see the point in trying to woo them over, but I'm like, they're your best friends. You should talk to them, and he's not doing it. And so there's that, but God, this whole situation, Pixis, my dude, we're going to talk about Pixis. I'm glad, way back in season 2, I was like, Pixis is kind of like falling down to A, B rank, and a lot of you were like, don't give up on Pixis. I'm glad you convinced me, because Pixis, he's been one of my main faves since season 1, and he really pulls his weight this season. Definitely. Guides. So the idea of guides, of all the people leading you down the path, right? Fun times. Lots to think about with that title. So yeah, Hitch says, it's great that you have a crush on her, but have you heard the news? And all Armin says is no. Armin does not deny that he has a crush on Annie. Does not deny it. So I'm considering this a canon ship. I'm considering this the canon crush Armin has on Annie. It's cute. I like it. And I also like that Hitch and him are like the same height. It's fun. Like I said in the reaction, Hitch's design is a little bit different through Mappa. Her nose is different. I think that's what the difference is. Her nose is different, so she's a little harder to notice at first. But yeah, so we have military clings to power by wrongfully detaining Eren Jaeger. Because as we addressed in the last episode, or 2, the reporters, they're all on Eren's side as well. They're like, the military has, since season 1, always had like a disdainful view by the public eye, you know, mirroring a lot of countries in real life. But yeah, the military, so let's look at the Eldian military. Let's look at the Eldian military of parity, all right, and where we're at in all of this. So the public, mainly the public of parity, how they view the military, they think that they are wrongfully detaining Eren, that he should not be in that jail cell. Fun times. Eren, here's the thing, Eren knew that Flock was going to break him out. Well, Eren was biding his time, waiting for Flock and them to kill Zachary. And isn't that the irony of all ironies? That way back in season 1, when Eren's entire existence was in the hands of Zachary could have gave him over to the military police who would have killed him in that moment. Zachary said, no, I'm going to trust you in the hands of Levi and Erwin. And Zachary basically saved his life. And we find out later, of course, that Zachary was always kind of against the military police. So it's not surprising that he did that. But the fact that he basically saved Eren's life, and the way that Eren repays him is by killing him. He knew what Flock and them were going to do, and he was like, cool. If that's what gets us started, let's do this. Interesting, right? Because, there's no way Eren didn't know. Because Flock's like, we did what we did. And Eren's like, oh, okay, cool. I just think it's funny that Zachary died at the hands, technically, of Eren and the Jaegers. I'm not a big fan of Jaegers. I think I'm not a big fan of the term Jaegers. It's weird. It makes me think of like Jaeger bombs or something. It's bizarre. It makes me think of the liquor Jaeger, and so I'm like, ugh. But yeah. So Eren, let's go over here. So Eren basically, and the new Eldian Empire. See, if they just said they were soldiers in the new Eldian Empire or Eldian Empirists or something, that sounds better than Jaegerists. Jaegerists just sounds weird. Sounds like terrorists. If you're being honest, it just has a weird. It's just the wording is weird when it's translated. But yeah, so wrongfully detaining Eren Jaeger, and then Armin goes on to read more of the paper. And it's a big old spread. It's like the whole paper. Distrust in the military soars. So yeah, public distrust. And honestly, the public distrust is nothing new. They say that it soars, but that's just the press, right? There's been public distrust of the military since season 1. Like ever since, like when around Irwin and the Survey Corps, people were like, oh, our tax-paying dollars are being ill-used for the Survey Corps and stuff. This whole public distrust thing is not surprising. Poor Armin thinks that he's like, oh my gosh, this is really big. I'm like, it's been kind of going on since the beginning of this series, so that part's not surprising. What is surprising is just how much the public is really on board with Eren leading this new Eldian Empire. And Armin and Hitch note that it's because they're not giving the public any answers. Hitch is like, it's because they can't disclose information to the public, so the public doesn't trust them. And Armin's like, well, we can't just disclose Zeke and the rumbling, right? We can't just tell them. So again, if we're tying it back to the past with the military police, right? It's kind of funny how this is all coming full circle, and we're seeing it from the opposite end of the spectrum, right? We got last episode, the thing with Hange and Sonus. And Hange lamenting the fact that Sonus was like, the ball's in your court now. See how you all like having to hide things from the public and see how it works for you. That's all coming full circle, right? Because just like the military police was hiding the secrets of the royal family, now the military is hiding the rumbling, is hiding all the info about Zeke and the rumbling. Right? So it's just kind of, they're in the same situation they've been in the past. It's just in a new context. And the threat there's also this threat outside that's looming now that wasn't there before. Right? I mean, there was the Titans before, so it's kind of the same thing. Yeah, you had the Marlians and everything outside. You had the Titans outside before. It's all mirroring. Right? But this is the crazy thing. In the past, the public hadn't gotten riled up and gotten to this point where they were picketing and threatening to barge down the military doors and doing this like suicidal bombings because the military police had kept them all in check, right? But they kept them all in check and they weren't afraid to do so. That's the thing. Hange and the military police now, they can't just kill these civilians that are out in the public, right? But they're also not going to the extremes that the prior military police did in silencing people. So there's a big distinction there. Right now, the military is not silencing people like they were in the past. That's a big distinction. There's not the Kinneys of the military police. There's not a Kinney squad going around, getting people out of the way, right? It's not happening. So there's a big distinction there. And also, it's kind of a monster of your own creation. Hange encouraged the public to have a voice and have more of a say in matters going on in parody. And now we're seeing what happens with that. They're now rioting, and it's kind of a creation that the military started on its own. So it's interesting. Jaegers, the only one who avenges the eaten. Avenges the eaten. And of course they show like a guy missing teeth. Like, Isayama, is that a commentary? The only who avenges the eaten. And they have the signs. The new Eldian Empire needs Eren Jaeger. So yeah, Eren is being made up to be this king. He's being made up to be the leader of the Eldian Empire, right? The new founder. The founder. Yelena called him the founder. Yep. And so, okay. We had the former founding titan, and Eren is the new one. Okay. Okay. And so, yeah, there's a big mob there. And Hitch just looks disgusted. Hitch is just like, God, I hate this. Hitch is just like, ugh, I'm going to get wrinkles from all this. And Armin's just like, what is this? And Hitch is like, it is their citizens surrounding the entire HQ. Mm-hmm. And then they're like, Hitch, lend us a hand. And I love that Hitch is just like, more work. I hate being in the military police. Why me? But Armin's not in the military police, so he doesn't have to go help out front. Right? And that's when Mikasa shows up to make it there to go talk to Zachary to try to get them to persuade them to see Eren. We can't let this time go to waste. Let's go. Okay. And so we see, the scout recruits. What do they do? The scout recruits, what are they doing at HQ? So yeah, Mikasa and them notice the scout recruits, like just standing around outside, biding their time and waiting. Mikasa's like, that's odd. Why would they be here in Sina? They're new recruits. They shouldn't be here, huh? Should have been a sign. Like, all the clues were there. It's just, you find out afterwards, and it's brilliant. So then, let us also make note that Dot Pixis's, I'm assuming this is Dot Pixis's mansion out in the middle of the woods. Like, Dot Pixis knows how to romance, to woo a woman. Like, I'm going to get you to come out here and tell us your secrets, but I'm going to do so with tea and a beautiful, like, pristine, scenic vista for you to spill your secrets at. Hope you enjoy it. I'm like, Dot Pixis made, he knows how to, set the stage. And Yelena says, that day I did go meet Eren. Okay, so 10 months ago, so if we're going back to this timeline here, 10 months ago, he met Yelena. By herself, supposedly. By herself, met Yelena. Okay, interesting. And around that time, I'm assuming that Flock let the meeting happen. So, okay, because Flock was her guard and let her go to visit Eren. All right, and I like the Pixis like, oh, I'm sorry for keeping quiet about it. That's enough reason to detain the volunteers. So Yelena's like, I mean, me being quiet alone is enough. And Pixis is like, well, how kind of you to admit. And so again, when Pixis, he's gonna say a sentence later that kind of is so interesting in all of this. But I'm sure Pixis is like, even if she's lying, there's some truth to it. So he's like, oh, go on, tell me your story, tell me your version of this. And then Yelena says, the way I saw it, you guys didn't know the world. Which is true. If you kept arguing and putting it off, it would be too late. Meaning like arguing about the rumbling and weighing their options. So Yelena is saying if we had waited so much longer and weighed our options, then it would be too late. Like the rumbling and everything needed to happen. We needed to set things in motion and y'all were just taking too long. Because that had been a solid year after... So the 2 years ago when the lady from Hizuru came, and we'll get her name, like Azumabito, we'll get her name. But basically, Yelena was saying like a year had passed since the Hizuru clan had came, and y'all hadn't come up with any options. So she's like, if we waited any longer, Zeke was going to run out of time, and we wouldn't have time to set things in motion. Because this was 10 months ago, so Zeke had like a year and a half left of his contract. So Yelena's like, we had to put things in motion, or it was going to be too late, right? And so we see her meet with him, like, in this house, like, in her trench coat and everything. Eren felt the same sense of urgency, which is funny because Hange said to Eren back in episode 10, Hange was like, I felt the same urgency as you. So Hange was feeling urgency, Eren was feeling urgency, Yelena was feeling urgency. There was an urgency to act before it was too late. And that kind of makes sense. It makes sense because, like we said 2 years ago, Eren thought he had time. And he's like, we need to weigh our options. And Eren didn't like Zeke's plan. But after a year had passed and nothing had changed, we don't know the full context of what happened in that year and what happened exactly 10 months ago. It's slowly, Isayama's got like the IV drip of information, the exposition IV drip. He's got it like just turned a little bit and he's like, okay, you get little droplets this episode, but that's it. You're only getting a couple drops. Hope that's enough to satisfy you for a while, for a week, And so we get like a little bit of info in this episode to say, okay, Eren sensed urgency as well 10 months ago and thought that something needed to happen. I'm sure Yelena at that time was like, okay, I've been in contact with Zeke. Here's the plan. You're going to go over to Marley. You're going to find Zeke. This is how we're going to do things. Okay. Also, want to note, 2 quick things about Eren, because as I pause this episode, it's Eren leaned up against the wall. 3 things. It's Eren leaned up against the wall in this shot talking to Yelena in 10 months ago. Note 1, I hope they're at an undisclosed location and not Eren's house, because that place looks like a rat's nest, and I'm hoping Eren doesn't live there because they established Eren's home was nearby. Hope that's not Eren's home because it looks pretty shoddy. Thing 2, Eren has a very distinct style. We see him with the dark coat that he puts on later in this episode. He has the dark coat, he has the black trousers, and he has his little crisscrossy shirt that he apparently lost when he transformed into a Titan to get out of his jail cell. So Eren has a very distinct fashion. He only likes one kind of shirt, the same trousers, and that dark coat. So that's thing number 2. Thing number 3, how in 10 months did he get as ripped as he is from that Eren to the Eren that we see 5 minutes from now? Because no way. No. I'm looking at this still of Eren, and he kind of looks like he did 2 years ago. He still has his hair's grown out some, but he does not look as jacked as he does in this. I'm like, does transforming into the Attack Titan and the Warhammer Titan is it such a workout that you get major abs from it? I swear I'm not in the Eren Simp Club yet, but Mappa, why? Why? I don't want to have these feelings. Okay, but yeah. And so Pixis says, so you convinced Eren to infiltrate Marley alone to get our military moving. Right. And Yelena's like, not quite. Okay, so this is very important. Pixis is suggesting that Yelena, the question is, what did Yelena do? Because Pixis is saying, so did she convince Eren to go to Marley to attack and force the military, force their hand in taking action? She says, not quite. Yelena's response is that I said someone needed to light a fire under the administration. So that's what she said. Light a fire under the administration. Which is what they do with Zachary and that bomb. Just saying. But that's not quite, that's very vague, right? If that was her exact wording, that's a different context. And so Pixis is like, that's all you said? Really? You risked a secret meeting without discussing anything concrete? Really? You sure about that? And then Yelena's like, yep. Given our position, we weren't allowed to meet with him in public. Now, here's the thing. She just said we weren't allowed to meet him in public. She just told Pixis that she met him alone. So, who's we? So she says we weren't allowed. Now, I'm sure some of you could be like, oh, well, it's the volunteers. But she just said earlier that she went by this herself and none of the volunteers knew that she met with Eren. So, which is it, Yelena? Did you really plan all this yourself and go to Eren and say you need to light a fire under the administration and that's all you said to him? You met him for 5 minutes and then peaced out and went home and had a glass of wine? Is that what you're saying? Or when you say we, are you implying that there was multiple people, not just yourself, that couldn't meet with him, but did? So, I don't trust Yelena. I feel like it's like what Pixis said. You know, when we tell a lie, it's best to sprinkle it in with the truth. And it's like, So, what is it, Yelena? I feel like Pixis is trying to catch her in a lie. He's trying to catch her not telling the truth. And he says, but the risk was worth it to you, wasn't it? Like the risk to meet him. You succeeded manipulating Eren just as Zeke hoped you would. So Pixis thinks that she's just manipulated Eren to follow Zeke, and Eren doesn't realize what's happening. And then Yelena gets mad and says, what would be the point in that? So Pixis is operating under Yelena getting Eren to be manipulated by Zeke. I'm just going to say manipped by Zeke. That's what Pixis is suggesting. But Yelena doesn't seem to feel that way. Yelena's like, what would be the point in that? And she gets mad. All I wanted was for Eren Jaeger to know who I was. Well, did he not already know who you were? He met you back at the port when it was made. What the hell? She just said she wanted him to know who she was, but she introduced herself at the port back in episode 10. So Pixis is like, what the hell? Like, what is this? And she stops. And he like looks over her and be like, we gonna need to write some things down. So I always forget this girl's name, and y'all have told me what her name is. I forget it. But she's basically the Moblet to Pixis. She's basically what Moblet is to Hange. This girl is to Pixis. And so Pixis looks back at her like, get this crazy woman stuff down, please. And then Yelena takes the tea. Oh, she's so weird. We wanted Eren's founding titan to crush Marley into dust. Again, going back to that we wanted Eren's founding titan to crush Marley into dust. So they wanted the founding titan, okay, to crush Marley. I think that that's important to mention, that it's the founding titan that they want, not the attack titan, because it's the founding titan that's going to cause the rumbling. So what Yelena is saying is that whoever we is, we assume that it's her and Zeke, or her and this new Eldian Empire, but mainly her and Zeke. They wanted Eren's founding titan to crush Marley into dust. That's what the Restorationists wanted. So again, Zeke. I'm going to make a big point of him at the end of this, because I'm like, what the hell, Zeke? So yeah, they wanted him just to crush Marley with the rumbling. Okay, and that was the whole point of Zeke's plan. Just like we'd hoped, he inflicted heavy damage to Marley. Well, and it's curious that she says this. No, he exceeded expectations. Again, it's curious. When Yelena first met Hange back in episode 9, Yelena was like, you all were able to defeat all these titans. You've exceeded our expectations. You're more powerful than we thought. So that means that, you all, it's very possible you could destroy Marley. And you guys just don't even realize it yet. But she said this assault that Eren did on the internment zone exceeded their expectations, like exceeded what they were hoping. Like he got everybody else involved and it just became a big thing. But it almost seems like Zeke and Yelena and them are forcing Eren into a position where he believes that he has to crush Marley or Parody's doom. Like Eren won't have a choice, or he feels he won't have a choice. And they've just forced him into this corner. But I want to think that Eren is smarter than that and that he would realize what they're doing. But then why does he seem to be going along with it? So there's something happening under the surface in all of this. Something is going down. And it feels like it's a cat and mouse that's getting set up with Eren and Zeke. And that Zeke thinks he's manipulating Eren, but Eren knows that Zeke is trying to manipulate him. And it's like they're just gonna... I want them to meet. I want Eren and Zeke to meet. But more importantly, I want to know, when Zeke and Eren first met back at Marley, what the hell did they talk about? What happened? What happened that totally got Eren on board with all this? That's what I want to know. So... but we don't get to know that yet. Right? We don't get to know that yet. So it's frustrating. He exceeded expectations. Yeah. Which is still curious. She says he delivered the divine retribution we wished upon Marley for years. Like, yeah, he destroyed a bunch of shit. But like we said in previous episodes, Yelena herself said that the Marleyan military was like 1 million soldiers strong, and they had multiple ships and ports and lots of things. So he did this massive damage, but it's not like a devastating... It was in the internment zone even. It wasn't even in Marleyan, where the Marleyan citizens were. So, interesting. For him to achieve such things is proof he possesses the founder. Yeah, no, we get that he has the founder, so that's interesting that she needed proof. And then, of course, Yelena's like, you know what we're witnessing? We're witnessing a change in history. History is about to change before our eyes. And Pixis is like, yeah, I know, I see it. Two brothers are reshaping the world. Yeah, so Yelena's face is like totally on board with this. Like, these two brothers are going to reshape the world. Okay. For better or worse, right? And Yelena just wanted Eren to know her. So it's almost like Yelena like worships Eren on the same level as Zeke because they're brothers. They can both turn into these titans. They're these symbols of hope. And I said in the last episode in the reaction about Eren being a symbol of hope to the powerless, and that's kind of what Yelena views the Beast Titan as and what Flock views Eren as. And now I think Yelena views Eren as that too. But it kind of makes a lot of sense because Eren's always felt powerless. So the idea that Eren is a representation of hope to the powerless, he kind of is like the perfect beacon of it. It's just complicated, you know? Everything's complicated in this show, and it's interesting. I simply want to see it happen from their side. Yeah, Yelena's like, these two brothers are going to destroy the rest of the world to reshape the world in their image. And Yelena's like, I want to be on the winning side. And that's this one. So I'm going to do everything I can to make sure I can stay on this side. And that's why she wanted him to see her, to be like, look, you can trust me. You can trust me. I'm on your side. It's like, interesting. Interesting indeed. And so then, yeah, Pix is like, so in other words, the main reason you met Eren was out of curiosity. Is that it? And Yelena's like, essentially. The other volunteers don't know that I secretly met Eren. But if the other volunteers don't know that you secretly met Eren, then who's this we? We can assume it's probably Zeke. Included in that. My actions were reckless. And it's true that I deceived you guys. And I like that Pix is like, he does a lot of eye movements, like, get over here and start writing this down. It's true that I deceived you guys, but I did it for the sake of Eldia. I did it to save everybody. And so then, yeah, and I like that Pix says, I'd like to believe you. I would. I'd like to, but we need to write this down. And I don't know what that book says, if it's just a journal, but he brings it out and says, tell me everything you and Eren spoke about. And here's the thing. I love this line that he says. He says, do you know how to tell a good lie? I love this. He says, sometimes you got to mix the truth into it. So I love that because what Pixis is basically saying is I'm gonna have you recount everything you and Eren talked about word for word. And here's the thing: if you lie, that's fine because a good lie has the truth mixed in it. So whatever you say to me, I'm gonna be able to discern something from it that is probably true. Pixis, my dude. Oh, I wish I'd poured wine. I would totally have toasted Pixis this episode. For sure. He is. Pix is MVP of this episode. Definitely. So yeah. Then we go to the garrison guy eating the apple under the tree while Onyankopon and Hange play cards. And I feel for Onyankopon. I do. I do think Onyankopon is innocent in all of this. Again, he will probably die because he is innocent. We've seen it happen with Marco, with Marlo. If Onyan's name had a Mar in it, I'd be like, you're done for. But that's not quite the case yet. So Onyankopon and Hange playing cards here. And Onyan's talking about how he's just really disappointed that everybody's doubting them. He's like, we helped you. And I want to note something real quick. They haven't arrived yet. They're not going to arrive till March. And by that time, I will have forgotten about this. But I ordered online. It was a different order that I ordered from like a Japanese site. But on the sidelines, it showed little stickers. And they were Attack on Titan playing card stickers. And I was like, and it was of Erwin, Hange, Levi, and Eren. And they look like they're season 3 designs. So I was like, okay, that's not a spoiler. I can click on that and buy those. So I bought all 4 stickers, but they're playing cards. And each person has their own playing cards. And it says Hange is the ace of clubs. And I was like, oh, cool. That's perfect. Hange's the ace of clubs. And Levi is the ace of hearts. And I'm like, that's so perfect because Levi is so compassionate and cares so much. So Levi is the ace of hearts. Hange is the ace of clubs. Erwin is the ace of spades. And I'm like, fitting. And then Eren has 2 cards. He has the ace of diamonds and the Joker card. And I was like, oh, that's so good. I was like, yes, yes. So interesting. And that's going to kind of relate. I'm going to talk about the OP and ED lyrics in the recap. I'm going to break them all down. But there is a lyric in the OP that says my comedy show at its peak, and Eren holding the Joker card. And I'm like, but again, I don't want to break down the OP lyrics yet because I want to wait until I've watched all 16 episodes and then see them all in the context and break it down from there. If I break it down now, there's probably going to be something that I miss from episodes 13 through 16. But I can't believe we're already on episode 12. We only have 13, 14, 15. We only have 4 episodes left. Shit. Part 1. So we're 3/4 of the way through of part 1. Oh, that's so fitting because yeah, this is technically crap. We're entering Act 3. Well, crap. Okay. Getting ahead of myself though. Yeah, and then Onyankopon says, aren't we comrades? We sweat side by side these past 3 years. Onyan's like, why are you doubting us now? We've been friends. Like, what's the deal? And the railways, the trading, we made this island prosper. We gave everything to Eldia. So Hanji's like, I'm sorry. It's just 10 months after the rails opened and this happened. There's been stuff go down. And Hanji's like, I can't just turn a blind eye to it and not think there's something happening. And then this, tell me about it. Didn't we swear to work together for the future? So yeah, Hanji's like, I'm kind of between a rock and a hard place because Hanji wants there to be trust, but then Hanji also wants explanations. I like that Hanji is still investigating. Hanji has not made their decision on the final judgment. Hanji's like, we don't know enough yet. But Hanji's like, I've got to do my job as the commander of the Survey Corps, and so in doing my job, I have to do this, but I'm still trying to figure things out. And then that face that Hanji makes, Hanji's like, come on. And Onyan's like, what the hell's the matter? I love that Hanji's, and that's when Hanji was like, I didn't want to tell you, but you have to understand, this is what I've learned, and this is why I'm doubting you. And tells him about Yelena meeting Eren in secret. And Onyan's like, really? Seriously? And Hanji's like, you really didn't know? And Onyan's like, I honestly had no idea. But it doesn't seem like you did, to me at least. But then here's the thing. Hanji also says next, the idea that you don't seem that surprised. And Anya's like, Yelena. And yeah, Hanji's like, I notice you're not saying that Yelena would never do that. Because you know that she might. And yeah. And Anya's like, well, that's not quite the case. But Hanji's like, I know we've done this backwards, but now there's reason to detain you all. They're like, Hanji's like, we know. She's like, I know that you're surprised that Yelena did this without telling you, but you're not surprised that she did it. So there is reason for suspicion, right? That's the problem, is that Hanji is like, you're not surprised she did it, you're just surprised she didn't tell you. So Yelena is interesting. I don't know how to feel about her or Zeke, and we'll save them for the end. And then Hanji's like, tell me what you know about Yelena for the sake of our future. Saying, okay, you were just saying, Onyan, that you guys gave your all and we're fighting for the sake of our future. If that's the case, you better be telling me about Yelena and everything you know. And I like, Onyan's like, well, I did say that, damn it. As you know, Yelena organized the volunteers. So yeah, the volunteers were all organized by Yelena. Yelena set this all up from the start. Surprise, surprise. And at first people were wary and it didn't go so well. Imagine that. But she got her hands dirty and proved her loyalty to Zeke and the group. So Yelena was not afraid to play dirty. So basically Yelena killed who she had to prove her loyalty to the group that she organized. Saying, I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty if it means getting us all together. And then we had that flashback. There were accidental deaths. We buried friends we ate and slept with. Anyone who doubted us. Okay. Yep. But we pushed on for the sake of our homelands that Marley took away. So yeah, so the whole volunteers' point is to basically wipe out Marley, and any doubters were taken care of. Which, That's kind of funny because it's funny because the Marleyan government, anybody that doubted the Marleyan government were taken care of. Anybody that doubted parity, the military police took care of, so it's not any different. It's the same thing. You're just fighting for a cause like everybody else. It's, Yep, for the sake of what you believe in. And Hange's like, strange. She pressed our government to give Marleyans certain rights. So yeah. Yep. You make Yelena sound merciless to Marleyans, yet on our island. Oh, and this is where it gets interesting. And she's like, okay, I need you to come with me on Onyankopon. We need to go together. Yep. And he's like, what? So yeah. So here's the thing. That gets interesting because you have Yelena, who is very much like wanting to destroy Marley and take them down, but you also have Yelena working to give rights to Marleyans. Okay? To give rights to Marleyans on the island, such as Niccolo, right? So why would you want to do that unless you were going to have them work for you? But if you're against Marley from the start, then why does that matter? So I don't know. I'm like, okay, so what's the deal? And there's gonna be more revealed with that. But I was like, interesting. And then we have Zachary seeing all the people. And it's like, I hear Hange's all over the place. And then something needed checking out. Yeah, Hange's on the move. Hange's investigating. Hange is the Sherlock, the Batman of our world. We had Moblet. Hange was Batman and Robin. Robin's dead, so Batman still has to live on and try to figure this out. Indeed. And Eren's the Joker. Indeed. And I permitted a volunteer to go along. Okay. So I'm guessing the volunteer was the guy from the garrisons and Onyan. Okay. Interesting. I mean, it could be the volunteer is the guy from the garrison with her, or it could also mean the volunteer is literally the volunteer Onyan. One of the two. I'm guessing it's Onyan. And then I can't allow you two to meet Eren. So, and they're like, why not? It's like, because we know Eren had contact with the volunteers. Okay. Eren kept quiet about his secret meeting, which resulted in the raid on Marley. Yeah, so Eren is not making himself look good in any scenario. It's like Eren's had contact with the volunteers to leak information of him out. He had contact with Yelena and secretly went to Marley and didn't tell anybody about it. Like, Eren is pretty suspect in all of this because he's not communicated any of this with anyone. We're currently investigating if anyone else was involved. Yep. Eren hasn't said a word since the truth came to light. And so here we have Pixis with... Okay, so there is Pixis with the girl reading Yelena's words, right? Okay, and Pixis has talked to Eren. Interesting. Okay, and reading what Yelena said. Interesting. And Eren's just like... just not saying anything. Not denying or confirming anything. Just sitting there staring like, what are you doing, Eren? Why? We're still in the dark about what he did during his time in Marley, too. So we also don't know. We have no clue about his time in Marley. About when he met with Zeke, anything. And Eren seeing Yelena's testimony, he doesn't say anything about it. I'm like, what? So he knows now that Yelena had a conversation with Pixis. So he knows that Yelena has spilled that she met with him. This is probably the most frustrating thing about this series at this point, is that Eren has been our protagonist. Eren has been our protagonist for this entire series, our main character. We have, in the entirety of season 1, we followed Eren. And we got inside of his head. We got his thoughts. We got what he was thinking. We saw everything from Eren's perspective. And that's great. And then in season 2, we spent half of the season getting things from Reiner and Bertolt's perspective from the other side, right? We got everything from their side of the story and Historia and Ymir. And then in the second half, of season 2. Then Eren came back into the story, but he was kind of just like he was just as a fly on the wall because he was either knocked out by Reiner and Bertold, or he had been kidnapped, or he was being held hostage by Bertold, like one of those situations, right? Until the events of Scream, and then everything came back into Eren's point of view. In season 3, Eren is absent for most of the first part because he's being held hostage in the underground chapel. And until Sin, we don't really get much from his perspective. And then we get Sin and Wish and the rest of part 1 from Eren's perspective. And then in part 2, we get most of everything from Eren's perspective. So there's that. This season, for the most part, unless it was episodes 6 and 7, which we had Eren strategizing against the Warhammer Titan, we've not really gotten anything from Eren's point of view. We have not been inside Eren's head. We've seen Eren from the outside. We've been a fly on the wall as he's been staring into the mirror sexily, but we don't get inside of his head. And what's frustrating is that in scenes like this, where we see Pixis talking to Eren, we don't get to see, we see his reaction, but we don't get anything. We don't get inside his headspace. That's what's so frustrating, is that we don't know what Eren is thinking. Like, everyone around, we get what everybody around Eren is thinking and trying to figure out, but we don't actually get to the source of the matter. That's so frustrating. And I'm hoping that at some point, we're going to backtrack. We're going to see Eren and Marley when he met with Zeke. We're going to see that conversation. We're going to see what's inside Eren's head. Like, I need that so badly. Because I think that's what I've been missing from this season, is that it's why I can't really... And I don't want to know because of spoilers. A lot of people are like, oh, don't judge Eren. I'm like, if I knew more and I'm not on the same page as everybody, because that's the problem. I think once I get caught up, then my opinions will change. But my biggest hindrance in wanting to empathize with Eren and understand him is that I'm not in his headspace. Not like the other characters. We're getting everybody else's opinions but Eren's. And the conflict is about Eren. So you can see how this is frustrating. That's where I'm at. And so I just want to know. And I have a feeling we're going to find out. It's just a matter of time, right? And so then, yeah, Zachary says, we believe Eren is being manipulated by Zeke. And I'm like, Armin and Mikasa seem shocked by this. I'm like, that seemed kind of like maybe that was the case when he was on the ship hanging out with Zeke being chummy. But they think he's being manipulated by Zeke. They think that he's like being tricked by him. I don't. For the record, I don't think Eren's being tricked by Zeke. I think Eren has a plan. I think that maybe Zeke is trying to trick Eren because they want the founding Titan powers. But here's the thing. I guess Zeke's whole deal might be too, we'll talk about this when I flip over Whiteboard Coon, but Zeke might be like, well, if you can't beat him, join him, right? That mentality. If Zeke might think, okay, if I can't get Eren, the founding Titan, back for ourselves, then I'll just have Eren join us and we can all just work together, right? Isn't that the whole point, that we all work together towards a common goal? You know, it just happens to be the genocide of the rest of the world. But the Restorationists and the New Eldian Empire just say Marley, but someone commented about this in the comments, and I've been thinking about it since they said so. Someone was like, Eren's whole agenda is just as the attack Titan to destroy all my enemies. He doesn't specify just Marley. And so my theory is that Zeke may be trying to manipulate Eren, but I think Eren's going to use Zeke just as much. I think Eren is like, Zeke's whole goal is to destroy Marley. I think Eren has bigger ambitions. I think Eren is more ambitious than Zeke. He's like, why stop at Marley? That's what I think. And I don't think that Flock or any of the other ones are really thinking about that right now. All they can think about is, oh, New Eldian Empire, we're going to destroy Marley. And I think Eren's way beyond that. Eren's like, no, we're going to destroy everybody. And I don't think Zeke and the others are quite privy to that yet. But I'll wait till the end of the episode to talk about that. But yeah, they're surprised. And he's like, I'm telling it because it's YouTube, but to keep quiet about it. That we think that Eren is going to be sought out by Zeke to be used. And yeah, and they're both just stunned. And Armin's like, Eren's not dumb enough to get manipulated by Zeke. And I think they're both like, there's no way Eren could get manipulated by him. No, that he wouldn't go along with him. No. And Mikasa's just like about to cry and says, what will happen to Eren? And that look, the moment that she says, what will happen to Eren, and Zachary just looks back at her, he's like, you know.
you know what's going to happen. We're going to kill him so he doesn't get manipulated by Zeke. That's the thing. Zachary thinks at this point that Eren's compromised. That no, he's drank the Kool-Aid that Zeke's put out. He's going to try to go with Zeke. We need to just get rid of him and get a new founding titan. That's what Zachary's thinking. And that look to give them. And when he looks back at them, they're both like, what's going to happen? And then they notice the chair. And for a second I was like, are you going to try to torture Eren in the chair? Like I was really curious in the moment. I'm like, are you going to try to strap Eren into the torture chair? The hell? But they're like, is that what you're going to do? And then Zachary was like, oh, it's nothing. I had recruits bring it here since there was nowhere to store it. That's the curious thing, right? That's the curious thing, is that a part of me is like, what did Zachary know what was going to happen? Did he know that he was going to die? Because I'm sorry, I know that's his chair, his creation, his pride and joy, but when they said there's nowhere to store it, where was it before here? Like, where was it stored before? Like, I'm like, wait a minute, no. That's like if you had it in a storage room and you're like, well, we can't put it here anymore. Let's bring it up to this office. It's like, but you had it in a storage room. So there's a part of me that thinks either one of two things. Either Zachary was planning to torture Eren with the chair, but he can turn into a titan, so that's stupid. No, that's not going to happen. Or maybe Zachary knew that he was going to have to die to set things in motion. I don't know, because Pixis made the comment that Zachary would have wanted to die during a revolution. Did he know it was going to happen and he decided to go out like a martyr? I don't know. It's just the whole thing of there was nowhere to store it, so they brought it here. That's such a weird and weak excuse that I'm like, you have a giant headquarters. You couldn't put it in any other storage room. Where was it before? That part kind of threw me off. I was like, huh? It's odd. And then Armin's like, but if Eren isn't talking, it's all the more reason that I think we can help. Armin's like, if Eren's not talking to you, let him talk to us. We're his best friends. Surely we can, get him to tell us something, And he's like, I'm not sure we can get the truth out, but there's no harm in trying. And yeah, so in my head at that moment, I was like, Armin makes a good point. He's like, even if we can't get the truth, well, you've tried everything else. You've had Pixis talk to him. You've had Hange talk to him. What's wrong with his two best friends talking to them? And there is some truth to that, but I think what Zachary is thinking too is, well, one of two things. I think that if Zachary's working with the new Eldian Empire, they don't want Armin and Mikasa to talk to him because they might talk some sense into him. Maybe. But also, Zachary may be suspicious of Armin and Mikasa and think that they'll try to get Eren out if they talk to him and Eren's like, let me out of jail. You're my best friends. Zachary may think, well, they may try to release him. So can't have that. So I think it's one of two things there too. Either Zachary doesn't want them to talk to Eren because it might talk some sense into him, or if he's working for the Eldian Empire. And if not, then he thinks that there's a chance they may betray the military and let him out. So, sort of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. And then all he says is the situation is too delicate. We're done talking here. That's all he says. There's no, so it's like, no. So I'm almost curious if he really, whether or not he knew this was that he was about to get blown up. Because he tells them to leave. And they're like, he tells them to leave. But he waits. The bomb doesn't go off until the other people come in the room. He says, why? You're right that there's no harm in talking, so why can't we? Yeah, Mikasa's like, that was a weak excuse. What the hell? No. And that's when these three that are in the shadows. And Armin says one explanation might be that they've completely given up on Eren. They don't think Eren is going to help them anymore. And then we see the three of them walk past. So the question is, were those three that walked past, one of them had glasses on, and one looks like, I was like, are those Louise and, Wig or whatever, and the other guy? But I don't think that they are. And they ask us, they said, excuse us. And then Armin's like, if that's true, they're already picking the next founding titan. And they show, and okay, so it is three different guys, I guess. And it shows Zachary looking at the new papers. So yeah, so I do think that the plan was that they were looking for a new founding titan, kind of like what they did way back in the past in season 3. They were trying to get Eren so they could give the founding titan powers to somebody else. The question is, who in the heck would they have picked? Was it Niall? Is Niall going to become founding titan? Who do they chosen for that? But yeah. And so then, oh God, the visual imagery, getting the symbolism of that chair being there. The chair was there from the start, just sitting there in view. And then, God, Armin saved Mikasa's life. Armin's like, Mikasa, do not go. And Mikasa was going to listen to the door and she probably would have died. Armin saved her life in that moment. And Mikasa was like, it's fine, I won't get caught. And Armin's like, we can't risk it right now. And then, God, yeah, this just completely caught me off guard. And then Mika says, no matter what happens, I'll make sure that Eren... And that's when Mikasa hears the explosion go off. And Mikasa saved Armin! So they saved each other! Oh my God. Yeah. Mikasa's like, no matter what happens, I'll make sure that Eren's safe. Oh my God. But yeah, just that blow up. Oh my God. And I like the image of the townspeople. Like, one guy has his like arm crooked and everything. And then what blows out? But God, Zachary's upper torso. And the military is like, what the hell? And then, yeah, he just plops down there. And poor Hitch is like, what? And if you just saw your premier military leader, like their upper torso get blown out a window, the hell? But yeah, it all blew up. And then Mikasa's like, are you okay, Armin? Yeah. Damn. And then, was anybody injured? Well, yeah, a bit. And then Armin and them seeing Hitch being like, what was that? The premier's room exploded. And they're like, where's the premier? And it's like, well, there he is. Mm-hmm. And then, God, this whole thing, give your hearts. Our anger reached them, and now it's time to fight. God. And then the crowd. This is probably the most weirdest thing about this episode, is the crowd. The crowd and the people saying that their anger reached them. Like, this attack was spurned by the New Eldian Empire, and it's time to fight. Yep. It's time to fight. And then they say the devote your hearts. Wow. I did not expect that thing, that symbol, everything to be done, and it being used by the New Eldian Empire. Being like, and they all say they're going to fight. Let's show them how angry we are. And it's like the citizens rising up, give your hearts. Not devote your hearts, but give your hearts. So there's a distinction there. And them yelling at all of them to give their hearts. Wow. Oh. It's crazy because, yeah, they're like, we want to save our people. We want to save the people of Parody. Y'all, the military's not doing anything. Y'all have had 3 years. Nothing's happened. So 3 years, nothing's happened. Eren's got a plan with Zeke. Let's trust them. They seem to know what's going on. They've already assaulted Marley once, and it was a success. So clearly they show that they have a chance for victory. So we're going to give our hearts to them. It's funny because back several episodes ago, I was like, well, maybe Eren will stick around and try to convince the Eldians in Marley to side with him and come and defend Parody. But that wasn't going to happen. No. And so the funny thing is, Eren has, maybe unknowingly or knowing what he's doing, he's united all these people against the Parody military and to start a new military with him. Okay. He's like, he reached the people, just not in a way I was expecting. Mm-hmm. So then, yeah, we cut back to the special chair. He owned a special chair, and we believe a bomb was placed in it. And so that's why he died. Okay. And so, yeah, a special chair. I like that, like, it was a torture chair, but, you know. And so he and 3 soldiers were lost. The culprit and their goal is unknown. And so Onyan's in the room too. You can see if we... Yeah, Onyan is in there with all of them. So, okay. And so then asking Hange, and Hanji's like, the volunteers were on house arrest, and this one was with me all day. So Hanji's like, well, it wasn't the volunteers. They didn't stage this whole thing that we know of, because they have an alibi. Makes sense. Although we don't know if the volunteers were privy to what was going on. We don't know that. Right? Who else could be responsible for it? And so the premier said, and that's when Armin notes, the premier said some recruits brought this to his room. And then here's the thing, Niall asks recruits from where, and Armin's like, he never said from where, but when Mikasa and I went to his room, we saw some recruits leaving HQ, and they were Survey Corps recruits. They were scout recruits. And that look Niall gives. That look Niall gives is the look of a man that's seen 1,000 ghosts, because he probably let them in. He probably let them in because here's the thing. Niall's always been friends with Erwin, and Erwin was the Survey Corps leader of the scouts. And so those scouts probably used Niall. I know there's probably stuff in the manga I don't know about that's being left out of this, so don't spoil me, but I'm just guessing in my head. I can just see it all unfolding, that these scout recruits coming to Niall and being like, oh, can we do this? And Niall, because of his trust in Erwin and his camaraderie, he was like, sure, yeah, you guys are the scouts, Erwin's scouts, ha ha ha. And then I think he realizes that he just screwed the pooch. And they're all like, shit. Because they all know that, speaking of scouts, I hear some of them leaked information about Eren. Putting 2 and 2 together. Yup. And Hanji them know about too. And then that's when they come in saying that Eren Jaegers escaped from his cell. And they're all like, well, shit! He's escaped! And Hanji's like, I like that Armin and Mikasa look terrified. They're like, oh my god, Eren escaped. And Hanji's like, well, he said he was going to. He said nothing could hold him there, so I guess guess that wasn't a lie. And Niall's like, mobilize everyone to find him. And then poor Mikasa's like, Armin, what in the world is happening? Yeah, so at this point, Armin and Mikasa, they're so torn, because they're like, our best friend like staged an escape from jail. He's not talking to anybody. He won't say what's going on. He could be betraying us by going along with Zeke instead of like us. Like, what is happening? Because yeah, when we had episode 10, Connie was like, that's not Eren. Connie's like, this Eren is different from the one that we know and care about. And Mikasa has been defending Eren over and over again. And Mikasa's like, if we just go talk to him. And Armin's like, if we just go talk to him. But Eren's not giving them that chance. He's already gone. It's like he waited until Zachary was dead and there was chaos to make his escape. And we see from later he had the Titan markings that he turned into a Titan to escape. Lost his shirt in the process. I guess turning into the Warhammer Titan just gets rid of your clothes. I don't know. Yeah, because then we see this man's giant broad backside. What is this? What is this? It's sunset. Of course it's sunset. And like this guy, Mappa decided, they were like, you know what? We got a couple extra, 10 grand lying around in the animation budget. You know what we should do? Because the manga's black and white. The manga's black and white, right? I love that Mappa's like, you know what's going to be great? This pristine, beautiful sunset where it's like the blues and reds and yellows. It's all gorgeous and everything. And we're just going to like make every muscle defined on Eren's back. And like those pants are going to be just low enough where you get like the dip in his back muscles and like the V in the hips and everything. It's like, what are you doing? But him just walking, why did he lose his shirt? He had a shirt in the jail cell with Pixis. What happened? He didn't have a shirt on with Hanji, but he had a shirt on with Pixis, so not needed. And then he walks up the mountain, like walking up to the top of the hill. And then we see the carriages going out and Mikasa and Armin being like, and Hanji and Onyan being like, what is happening? And this is after they had the conversation with Pixis and them, right? This is after that whole conversation. So this is when they found out that they're going to have to negotiate with Eren and them. Okay. All right. But then we see Flock. our Burger King, along with chicken fries, along with the chicken fries and a quarter pounder over here. We see Louise and the other guy as well. And then all the other Jaegerists, the other new Eldian Empire members, and Flock's right there. Like, Flock gets to hand him I'm so baffled by this. It's like Flock is on the same level with Eren as Yelena is with Zeke. Him getting to hand Eren his pristine, his infamous jacket. And then Eren just shows up, like, rising like a titan, like him just rising up with the sun setting and it hitting him just right. It looks like and his face is in the shadows. I've noticed that the last several episodes, Eren's face is in the shadows. Like, we don't get to see what he's thinking, and it's so frustrating. But Eren in the shadows, and him rising up looking like Titan, and of course he's bare feet. He's barefoot. I feel like that's like some kind of symbolic element of him being barefoot. And then him just walking like all kind of hunched over, right? Kind of hunched over like he's just straining himself. I don't know. And then all of them standing there and them all gathered around. And then Flock holds out the jacket. He's like, what a crowd. Is this everyone? And you can see where he's transformed into a Titan. Mm-hmm. And Flock's like, beside us here, we have allies hiding in the military. That's the problem. They're hiding in the military. It's like, Okay. So there's still people hiding around the military, including some who blew up Dallas Zachary. And Eren just doesn't have a response. He just is like, okay. And then, yeah, he doesn't say anything. And this shot, I'm going to save a picture of that. The shot of Flock handing Eren the jacket and sees these two guys looking right at each other, who I thought were going to be like mortal enemies. I thought these two were going to be mortal enemies. And it's taking all Flock has not to stare at Eren's chiseled abs as he hands him this jacket. And they're besties. I'm just shock of the century. And honestly, if you look at Eren's face there with the hair pulled back into the man bun, it looks like Gabi. And Gabi in the last couple episodes, Gabi with the hair pulled back and everything. Eren's just like a male version of Gabi, basically, in looks. Like the face and drawing and everything. It's, but oh my God. And it's just like Flock handing the king his robe, right? The only one who can save the Eldian Empire is you, Eren Jaeger. God. And Eren just takes it. Like he doesn't deny it. He doesn't say, oh no, that's not true. We'll all work together. No, Eren's like, okay, thanks. Yeah, you're right. And then meanwhile, Armin's like, it's okay, Mikasa. Eren will understand. No, I don't know anymore. Eren will understand. Yeah, if we talk to him, I'm sure he'll understand. And then meanwhile, Eren just like, with the sunlight hitting him, that shot of him pulling on the coat, like, come on. And it's just like his resolve. Find out where Zeke's being kept. That's all he says. Find out where Zeke is. New information available for public disclosure. The new Eldian Empire, a new name for Eldia, used by those on parody who are sympathetic for Eren Jaeger's actions. They have rallied around Eren and the name, causing disorder on the island, which is currently divided on whether to attack other nations or not. And then, yeah, God, Eren's ripped form there. I don't know what to think anymore. Just mind melted. It's over. So then, we go back to the discussion, which was right before Armin and Mikasa have left. And my fear is that Eren is not going to want to talk to Armin and Mikasa because he doesn't think Armin and Mikasa get it. He doesn't think Armin and Mikasa get where Eren's coming from and why he has to do the things that he's doing. So I'm really worried about that. Flock, Forster, and some 100 soldiers and guards vanished from the prison. Okay, so there's at least 100 of them. But they also said that there are some within the military still there. So it's like, who do you trust? That's the thing too. Like, who do you trust? What? all these seeds of discord. They are thought to have defected, timed with Eren's escape. Yes, it's all, I'm pretty sure they're behind the Premier's murder. Yes, you are correct, Niall. I'm pretty sure as well. They need a name. I like these, like, they need a name. Let's just call this anti-military insurgents the Jaegers. And I'm like, that's such a weird name. I don't like Jaegers. It's weird. It's very bizarre. It's just an odd thing to say, Jaegers. I don't know. And I guess the Japanese word for it, the Japanese phrasing is probably a little bit easier on the tongue, but in English, Jaegers is a very odd phrasing. And yeah, the goal of the Jaegers is what, Hange? And I like that this woman here, the Azumabito woman, is just like sitting there listening to all this, like, And then Hanji's like, they're hoping to bring Eren and Zeke together. They'll reform the military with Eren on top. Yep. So basically, yeah, reform the military with Eren being the leader. Murdering the Premier shows their resolve. It's obvious what provoked them. So yeah, the military scheme to take the founder from Eren, all without telling us. So it's interesting that a few episodes ago we had Armin saying, we'll talk to Eren, but and Connie questioned him. He's like, well, what happens if we talk to Eren and Eren reveals that he is trying to work with Zeke with this plan that goes against Historia and everything that we said we cared about? What do we do then? And Armin said himself, he's like, well, we have the Titan Serum. We have options. So Armin was even thinking about it then. Zachary and the others just kind of took it a step further and were like, yeah, we've thought about it. We've tried to talk to Eren. He won't talk to us. So what choice do we have at this point? If he won't cooperate and he's possibly a threat. So you can't, it's like, Eren, why won't you talk to the military? Why won't you talk to them? Why can't you? Again, there's stuff that's happened a year ago or 10 months ago that we're not privy to, and I can't wait to find it out because I feel like the picture is missing pieces. Again, I said back in season 3 it was like a puzzle and you were just trying to find all the pieces. We're back to the same boat where Isayama was given like, here's season 4's puzzle. Here's the Marleyan half of the puzzle, and here's the Parody half of the puzzle. And we've been getting bits and pieces of the Marley puzzle, and we've gotten bits and pieces of the Parody puzzle, and the middle part is Zeke and Eren, and that part we haven't quite been given the pieces yet for. So it's horrible because I want to piece together the puzzle, but I can't because the pieces aren't all in front of me yet. Yep. And so yeah, the military, we knew that what would happen if we had. So yeah, the idea is that the military schemed to take the founder from Eren, all without telling us. And Niall's like, yeah, we knew what would happen if we had. Yeah, Niall's like, we knew the risks. In any case, many of the Jaegers are from the Scouts. Because Flock's been recruiting. Flock decided to major in marketing and recruitment and just went for it, you know? And then how will you take responsibility, Hange? And Hanji's like, I'll accept any punishment. But resigning now would be irresponsible for a thing to do. So Hanji's like, when this is all said and done, if you guys want to punish me, fine. Because it is my fault that I didn't pay more attention to my scouts. Hanji's like, Erwin made a mistake putting me in charge. I'm sorry that it's come to this. If you want to punish me later, fine. But I'm not resigning now because y'all need me. And I need to figure... Hanji's still on a mission. Hanji's like, I've got to figure things out. And I'm not done yet. So just wait. And then, yeah, we see Connie and Jean. They're in their actual military gear this time. Besides, we don't know how many Jaegers are still in hiding. So Hange is very privy to the idea that there could be some still rats have infested the woodwork. And then, yeah, the one guy's like, there might even be a suicide bomber standing in front of me. Saying, yeah, and Hanji's like, Rogue, don't be ridiculous. Okay, so Rogue is the one that got drunk and was kind of really condescending in the last couple episodes. And Rogue's like, can you be trusted until we know we can't let you scouts roam as you please? God, it's just like season 3 all over again. The scouts get the worst reputation. Just another day in the Survey Corps. Where back in season 3, the military police, they were distrusting the scouts because of Eren and trying to limit their involvement in things. And we're right back to that same square in this one. It's like, oh my God. Yep. And then the Hizaru, the woman there, is just, you know, taking it all in. And that's when Pixis shows up. And Pixis is like, we have a guest here, a lady gentleman. We have a lady guest. We need to be polite. Pixis is nothing if not a gentleman. We have more important things to do than bicker. Seriously, the idea that Pixis becomes the premier after Zachary, I kind of love it. I kind of love it because Pixis is perfect for this position. I really do. I like it a lot. And Pixis saying, Hanji, do you know where Zeke's being held? And here's the thing. You know what? I got a tickle in my throat. Hanji has learned from Erwin. Hanji has taken a page from Erwin's book and is not giving everybody all the information. Hanji's like, no. So as far as we know, Zeke is only, their location is really only known by Hanji and Levi and about 30 soldiers. That's about it. So about 30 soldiers and Levi and 3 soldiers who deliver supplies. That's the sketchy part. Okay? The 3 soldiers delivering the supplies is sketch because we saw back in the other episode that one of the wine bottles they had was the wine bottle that Niccolo was trying to give to Rogue and them. And I'm like, and apparently Rogue's still alive, so he wasn't poisoned, but I'm like, are we sure? What's going on? What's going on with this? Something's happening. So I don't like the idea of the 3 soldiers who deliver supplies. I don't like that. Seems suspect. But yeah. And lastly, there's me. So I have those 3 brought here. So yeah, it picks like, bring the people that deliver supplies. Bring them here. And then Niall is responsible for the Queen's residence. I like that. I like that Niall is responsible for the Queen. I really like that because in the other episode, Niall stuck up for Historia. Niall was like, nope, Historia's a good girl. I'm going to stick up for her. So I kind of like that. Niall's in charge of keeping Historia safe. And Niall's like, only few know the location, but I'll check it out. So Historia is being hidden, and Eren will attempt to contact Zeke and Queen Historia. Again, I want to know so much what's happened in the past. I want to know in the last year and a half what's been going down. I have a feeling we'll find out, but we don't know yet. So yeah, Pix is like, protecting those 2 is an absolute must. So Zeke and Historia have to be protected. Okay. And right now, Eren seems more concerned with finding Zeke. So we'll see. We'll see. And then I like the Armin's like, Commander Pixis. I like how serious this felt. Like if you look at Jean in this frame, Jean is like super serious, like looking at Pixis as well. And Armin's like, now that we've lost the premier, the only one who can lead us is you. And I agree. Pixis is the best man for the job. What do you think we should do? And so Pixis is like, well, we've been utterly beaten. Let's surrender to Eren. And I like that no one behind Pixis is surprised by what he says. Like Connie is like, what? And they're all like, and the military police is like, what? He's like, we can't do a thing about our enemies, in our midst. So let's break down Pixis's thing here. Pixis's argument is not really to surrender to Eren, but to negotiate. To negotiate with Eren. That's what he's suggesting. He's like, we can't do a thing about enemies in our midst. He says, even if we flush them out, who knows how much blood it would cost. So he's like, we can't just go on a wild goose chase and we can't waste time like interviewing every single scout and every single member to try to figure out who's a traitor and who's not. He's like, we can't engage in a civil war right now. That's stupid. It's going to waste time. And how many people are going to die in the process? No. So he's like, we don't have time for a civil war. And we don't need to have time for a civil war because there's bigger fish to fry, right? He's like, Marley's at our gates. So the last thing we need to do is to be fighting amongst ourselves. No, we don't need to be doing that. That's a bad idea. And I agree with Pixis on that note. Because then he says, we don't have time to waste on such folly. What we need, our decisions made soldiers turn their backs on us. So he's like, we have to, we're reaping what we sowed. We put Eren in a jail cell. We didn't, do certain things that maybe we should have. Our decisions made, it brought about our defeat. Like, we got beaten. And then this one woman, she says, are you kidding? Bow down to the people who killed the premier? Like, we just accept it? And Pixis says, I knew Zachary for many years. To live and die by revolution would be what he wanted. So that line there makes me think, too, that maybe Zachary knew that this was coming. that Zachary, because here's the thing. Yeah, they talked about how the military police and everybody schemed to have the founder taken over by someone else. And Zachary may have gone along with that plan because at the time he's like, well, I don't have another option, so I'm going to go along with it. But there's a part of me that thinks that Zachary knew he was going to die and that because of this revolution, it had to happen. And he went along with it. Because the whole thing with the chair is it just screams red flag. And I assume Zachary's smarter than that. So I don't know. But yeah, the idea that Zachary would have gone with a revolution. That he would have gone out. He's prepared to die during that coup back in season 3. He was like, well, I was eventually going to, try to stage a coup against the nobles anyway. So YOLO, what we do. And so then anyway, the 4 who died wouldn't want their deaths to cause Eldia's fall. So yeah, he's like, at the end of the day, we basically are responsible for triggering this attack by Eren and the Jaegers. And so the 4 who died, would they really have wanted to die knowing that we just fought amongst each other and led to our own downfall? No. So what do we do instead? And then Niall's like, so we submit to the Jaeger brothers? Niall's like, are you suggesting we just surrender and do whatever they say? And then Pix is like, no, let me make a distinction. We are not submitting. No, we'll use the location of Zeke to negotiate. Yeah, that's the thing. And again, I love this. We're not submitting. We're going to use Zeke's location to negotiate. Okay. We're not, basically, Pixis is saying what they expect us to do is to launch this full-scale, massive inquiry into the entire military, to waste all this time. Because I'm sure Pixis realizes that the Jaegerists, I want to keep calling them restorationists because their ideologies are very similar, but the Jaegerists, Pixis is saying they want us to waste time, so it gives them more time to find Zeke and locate them, because Parody Island's only so big. It's only so big. You could only hide him somewhere. And if Eren's smart, which he is, he's going to start thinking of places that the scouts and them would hide him. And Forest of the Giant Trees is a pretty obvious location, I think. I think that'd be like one of the top 10 places I'd look. But, that's secluded. And so Pixis is like, they expect us to fight internally and waste time and give them time to go find Zeke. And we're not going to do that. No, we're going to cut out the middleman. And here's the thing. It all ties back to this idea that Uri had, the idea that you can communicate and negotiate when one party is in a position of power. And Pixis is like, we do have an advantage over them. We have Zeke, and that's what they want. So we can use that power to our advantage and negotiate with them using it. Like that's our option at this point, right? Oh God, I love it. And then, like before, Eldia's survival will depend on the test run of the rumbling, and that ties to the Hizarus. The rumbling is still needing to be test run. That still needs to happen. However, we must look past the fact that they murdered the premier. That's probably the most crazy thing is like, yeah, he's like, yep, they murdered him. But in order for us to get this ball and to keep it rolling, we've got to look past that at the moment. If that's the price to prevent countless comrades from being killed, then so be it. And you can tell that they're all mad, that they're all pissed off about it. But Pixis is like, do you disagree with me? Do you not get what I'm saying? He's like, yeah, it sucks. We just had our leader killed. But if we don't want to kill countless others of our own kind, they've got us by the balls. We've just got to meet in kind. It's like, I give Pixis so much props because even he's mad about it. He's like, so be it. He's like, that's what we got to do. And here's the thing, Niall and Rogue, if we go back, this is the thing that gets me, is that when they go back to all of this, that if that's the price to pay and they cut back to all the other members, then the ones that aren't shaking and mad are Niall and Rogue. So, and here's the thing, Niall is looking directly at Rogue. So, I wonder if Rogue is one of the traitors on the inside too. I wonder if Rogue's one of the traitors on the inside too, because Flock said that they still had some people on the inside of the military. I don't think Niall is a traitor. I don't think Niall is a Jaegerist because Niall knows where the queen is. And so I don't think Niall is a Jaegerist because Niall has that information. And if he was, then he would have already told Flock and them. I don't think that's the case. But Rogue has a thing against the Marleyans. Rogue doesn't like the Marleyans. So I could totally see Rogue being on board with the idea that Eren wants to wipe them all out. So I could see him being like, sure thing. Yep, let's do that. So I could see Rogue being a double agent and him being working under the surface. Because we made that comment to Hange, he's like, well, it could just be that there's a suicide bomber in the room with us. And Hanji's like, that's not true. I think Rogue's suspicious. And that one moment where Niall looks over at him like, you're not mad about this. Everybody in the room is mad that we've got to do this, but you. And I think Niall's just looking at him like, interesting. So I think Niall's going to figure it out. I think Rogue is one of the ones in hiding, which his name is Rogue. Interesting. And he's like, get moving, soldiers. And they all are like, yep, let's do it. And Pixis. And so he's like, I'm ashamed you had to see that. Pixis is like, well, I just had to give this order and we just had to talk about like our entire, military system possibly crumbling. But how can I help you, ma'am? Pixis is nothing if not a gentleman. And then I like her response. She's like, don't be. Every country goes through this. It's like the perfect meta commentary about like, yeah, what you just did, every country's had to do that at least once. So it's fine. Interesting. And then he's like, I'm afraid I can't guarantee your safety. Please wait until at the port until all this is over. And she's like, right, we're both hoping for Eldia's victory from the bottom of our hearts. Because it's going to be good for them. They're like, we need Eldia to win so we can get all the resources and become rich again. And then she tries to convince Lady Mikasa to go to the port with them. If anything happens, come to their ship. She's like, we want you to come back with us. And Mikasa's like, yeah, thanks, but I'm an Eldian. I'm going to stay with my people and Eren and Armin. I want the place I was born in to have a future. Don't concern yourself with me. And I really like this conversation, actually. That the woman says, what are you talking about? The whole reason we came was for you. And Mikasa's like, yeah, not our resources too? Mikasa's like, you don't care who leads the country as long as the rumbling succeeds, right? Mikasa's like, you don't care about what actually goes on for all these people. That doesn't bother you. As long as the rumbling succeeds and you guys get your resources, Mikasa's like, you don't really care about any of the people here, right? So she's like, I do. So we're very different. And then she says, yes, unless the rumbling's power is proven, Hizru will hang us out to dry. So basically she's implying that if we don't bring back results and prove that we've got a stake in all this, then we're going to be in trouble. Our investments will go to waste and the Azumabitos will be done for. All the more reason I can't rely on you. Mika says like, yeah, your intentions and hearts are not in the same place as mine, and I'm not sinking down with your ship in case if stuff goes bad, so nope. The Azumabitos had to adapt to these turbulent times. And I love that she says now we're best known for being wretched money-grubbing vixens. So she's like, yeah, we're known as money grubbers now. She's like, well, we just did what we did to survive. Like, this is all we had. We did what we had to do to make sure that we'd get out of this thing unscathed. And I like that we get that viewpoint from her because a few episodes ago, in episode 10, it was easy to not like the Azumabitos because Hanji was like, they're known as money grubbers. But here she frames it in a different light. She frames it from a different perspective, being like, we're kind of like y'all. We didn't have a choice, so this is what we did to survive. Can you blame us? Still, we haven't lost our pride in the clan that your mother passed on to you. She's like, we still know the brand and what it signifies, and we still believe in it. No matter what comes out of the country, we wish to protect you. And that kind of is tied to Mikasa wanting to protect Eren. This woman saying, no matter what happens to Eldia, we want to protect you because you're part of our family and we have pride in our family. And it's kind of like Mikasa's like, no matter what happens, I want to protect you, Eren. And it's tied there. And Mikasa looks at her like she knows what that feeling is. And so then Connie asks the question, we're helping Eren when he killed the Premier. And then Mikasa says, nobody knows if Eren did it. And it's like, well, Eren didn't physically kill Zachary, but he's with the group that did, and he's supporting the group that did. So guilt by association. And then Jean says, keep it down, Mikasa. People will suspect us of being Jaegerists. And then Connie has been giving Mikasa 9 kinds of hell because he's like, whose side are you on? Like, Connie is like, can I trust you? And I like that Mikasa, her response is, well, I was nearly blown up. So do you think that I'm with them right now? No. And Connie's like, and then finally, Hanji's like, let's stop. Like Pixis was saying, infighting will be our downfall. Hanji's like, this is not the time. And so then, yeah, I like that Jean says, you're entrusting everything to Eren and Zeke. And then Anyan joins them. And Hanji's like, no, it's not good. Eren, Zeke, and Yelena took precautions and were ready for this sort of situation. Yeah, I'm sure that, see, Zeke and Yelena seem like they're like steps ahead of everybody. They have mapped all this out. They have planned for what is probably going to happen. So I'm not surprised that Hanji has this viewpoint at all. Yeah. And Hanji saying that we have to expect they took other precautions as well. Like, they've planned this out pretty well. We need to figure out Zeke's intentions before he makes fools of us. Yeah. The fact that it's been 3 years and they still don't know Zeke's plan. What the heck? What the heck, show? It's fascinating. But yeah. So then Hanji's like, let's do this. Let's just hope my concerns turn out to be nothing. I don't like Hanji saying that. I don't like Hanji saying, oh, I hope that my worry about the end of the world is just no big deal. I hope it's just me worrying for no reason. I'm like, Hanji doesn't ever, I don't see Hanji as a character that just worries without reason. So if Hanji's nervous about something, I feel like it's serious. And Jean is like, wait, what are you worried about? Jean's like, what is this foreboding thing that you're setting up at the end of this episode? I feel like Jean's like, wait, what? What are we worried about? You should probably tell us. And then, of course, Hanji says, Yelena secured work for Marleyan prisoners in odd places, such as restaurants. Like restaurants, for example. And then they're like, what a big building. I've never seen anything like it. Like the country folk go to the city to go to the fancy, they go to Dollywood to go to the fancy restaurant. It's your lucky day, kids. Ha 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 ha. That's the God, why can't Sasha's family be at peace? Stop, Isayama. I feel like, God, it's like, y'all fixing to eat? No, this is like, anytime a character's like, it's your lucky day, I'm like, in this series, they're all going to die, and I'm not ready for it. No, we just lost Sasha, don't you dare. But now, Gabi and Falco are there. They both look like, well, they look like, kind of like they've seen ghosts because, old Kyla? God, I feel bad that I forgot her name already. No, she was just here last episode. Kaya, thank you. I was like, oh God, I can't have forgotten her name already. Kaya, she's like, was going to take them there to meet up with Niccolo, who's supposed to take them back to Marley. So, Yelena, have these Marleyan prisoners at odd locations, such as restaurants. Well, the biggest thing I can think of why you would have them at a restaurant is because that's where you could get the most information. Because they're at a restaurant, all these people have to eat, so people would gather at restaurants and talk about things. Like with Rogue, when he was talking with Niall and them, and they were just chit-chatting over dinner, being really loud and talking about their views on Historia. That's the prime time that a Marleyan could hear all that information, hear the gossip, and if they find out any nuggets of information that are important, pass it along to people that they feel they need to. So that would make sense. They may also have access to like food and resources like that in case they needed to use it. And it's a convenient location to have them. So I'm wondering what other odd places other than restaurants these Marleyans were stationed at. But it just seems like she put them there as pieces on the chessboard, right? To be part of this. The curious thing about it is they're Marleyans. So why would they want to willingly work alongside Yelena to help the Eldian Empire who want to kill them, unless she hasn't told them that part of the story. She's just like, hey, Marleyans, you guys want to get off of parody and go back home and not be prisoners of war anymore? I can help you with that. I was a prisoner of war too, so I know how it feels. But maybe she's planning on killing them all once they do their part. We'll talk about this here in a little bit. But yeah, Gabi and Falco, their eyes are twitching. They're like, they're just ready to go home. And they're like, yeah. And so then we have Hange and Jean and Armin and Mikasa riding through town, like on their way to like one of these locations, I'm sure. And then lo and behold, who's sitting at the well, like freaking Belle off Beauty and the Beast. The military's always in a rush. And there's PIECK. Oh my God. They're there already. They're there already. Reiner's there already. Porco's there already. Colt's there already. Oh my God. So the question is, are they all going to converge in the same location? And what is it going to do to my sanity? Okay, so flip this sucker over because I want to talk about Zeke. I want to talk about Zeke and Yelena and this insanity that is happening. Okay, so Zeke, old Zeke, sweet Zeke, he is currently in the Forest of the Giant Trees with Levi and about 30 scouts. Okay. Just enough to be fodder. So you have Zeke over there in the Forest of the Giant Trees. You have Yelena, that I'm assuming is still detained. Right? You have Yelena that's still detained, assumingly. You have Eren and Flock that are escaped from Cena, I'm assuming. And they are off to try to find Zeke. Right? So you have that going on. And then down here, you have Niall, who's been in charge of locating and making sure Historia is safe. Right? And you have Hange and the others. Hange and crew are out to find out about where these Marlians are. So Hange is like leading she's like leading the mystery gang. She's like the head, she's Fred of Scooby-Doo right now trying to figure out where old man Jenkins is. And so she's going to the Marlian locations that I'm sure would involve Niccolo because they know Niccolo personally, which Niccolo just so happens to be at the restaurant where Gabi and Falco and the Blouse family are going. Because why not? And then we also have PIECK and Porco and Reiner and Colt, who are definitely in parody already. Just a hop and a skip away. So we have all these pieces on the board. Gah, right? And so Hange, they want Armin and Mikasa want to talk to Eren. That has been established. They want to try to talk to him and figure out what the hell's going on, right? And I'm going to put Annie over here because Annie is still in her little prison. I don't know if Porco and Reiner then are going to... It would be interesting to see if Porco and like Porco and Colt go to get Annie, or Porco goes to get Annie, if they send Porco to go find Annie and rescue her. And if Reiner and Colt, I'm assuming, are wanting to try and find Gabi and Falco. And PIECK is just trying to get back with Zeke, right? So that's interesting. But Yelena met with Eren 10 months ago, okay? She met with Eren 10 months ago and said that he needed to light, I'm going to draw like a little fire emoji, under the administration. Which he did. He just blew him up. Didn't just light a fire. But she claims that she didn't tell him to go to Marley. That was not her intention. But in the meantime, she's also been advocating for Marleyan rights on the island. Okay? While all the time saying that Zeke and Eren are going to destroy Marley. Okay. So Yelena's interesting. And then you have Zeke. And Zeke wants to meet Eren, obviously. So again, we don't know. There's still a lot about Zeke that is unknown, and I feel like the rest of this season, maybe we're going to get that revealed before part 1 ends, because we still have 4. I can't believe we only have 4 episodes left. We only have 4 episodes left of this first part. Episodes 8 through 12 went by really quickly. Episodes 1 through 8 went by really slow for me, but these last 4 episodes have been like just one right after the other, and I'm like, crap, this is speeding up, which I'm not complaining. I want to savor this last season, but I also want answers. So what we don't know is we don't know his intentions. Like, what is Zeke's end goal? Is it really to destroy Marley? Is that really it? Or is it to take the founding titan from Eren? What? I wonder if Eren has his own plan, right? Has his own plan to trick Zeke, maybe? I don't know. To trick Zeke? I don't know. When they're like, oh, Eren's going to be manipulated by Zeke, I was like, I don't think Eren is that dumb. And I don't think Eren would willingly walk into a situation with Zeke unless he knew what he was getting into. So I'm like, either Eren has his own plan to manipulate Zeke in his own way, and we, the audience, just don't know about it yet, or Zeke really wants to destroy Marley, and him and Eren are going to reshape the world. But there's a big glaring hole in all of that. And maybe Zeke does want to work with Eren. My big thing with all that is that Zeke has less than a year left. Zeke has less than a year left. What is Zeke trying to do before he dies? Because he made the comment he'd pass on his memories to Colt. I don't think that he is going to. I think Colt's going to die. I think Colt's going to die before the end of part 1. Colt just has major death flags for me because he's not a Titan shifter. He's not a warrior. He's just a candidate. He's tied to Falco. I don't think Falco's going to die, but I think his brother might, and that might push Falco to make a decision of his own. And I see Colt as expendable in a way, but I don't know. But I'm like, Zeke only has less than a year left. So what we doing with that? He has only less than a year left to live with the Beast Titan. So what's the point of all this? What is Zeke trying to do before he dies? We don't know a lot about his childhood. We've gotten glimpses of him as he's grown up, but it's really not been a lot. And so but Zeke knows he's royalty. So it's like, how does he know he's royalty? Has he always known? And he just didn't tell the military about it because he was afraid of what they do. Like, what's the deal? Zeke is a giant question mark. He is a giant question mark, and until we find out more about him, I don't know how to feel about him. But he's biding his time with Levi, reading his book, acting like nothing's happening. I don't know. We do know that Yelena worships Zeke, right? She worships Zeke, and she just wants Zeke and Eren to know that. Being like, when you guys reshape the world, don't forget about me. I want to be part of it, right? So there's that. And then Flock and all them, they just want Eren to lead them against Marley. And I've had some people comment and say, well, Eren's goal is not just to destroy Marley, but to destroy all of his enemies, which would encompass the world, basically. And I'm like, yeah, that has been established. Eren has not specifically said against Marley. He said, like, across the sea, meaning everybody else, right? But it would include Marley. But there's a part of me that's waiting for Flock and all them to get the rug pulled out. Because here's the problem. I think that Flock and the Jaegers, they want to free Eldia from the Marleyan grasp, right? But I don't know if Flock truly grasps the concept that it's not just Marley they're going to be fighting against. It's going to be the rest of the world. And where do you stop? Where do you stop? Do you just keep going till there's nobody left to fight? Or what? And my fear is that Eren has decided that no, everybody needs to die except for, people in parody. Everybody else needs to go. It's fine. And I don't know if Flock and them truly get that. That's the question. There just seems to be something amidst all this that we, the audience, don't know yet. And I know several of you probably know because you've watched ahead, but I don't know it yet. So I don't want to be spoiled, But I'm just going into all of this. We're getting little bits and pieces. The puzzle's all starting to come together. And I love the mystery of this show. It's making me think. It's making me question. It's making me like to theorize. And I haven't felt that way in a while with this show. I honestly haven't, right? It feels a lot like season 2 where you're like trying to theorize and piece it all together and be like, okay, maybe this, maybe that. I really like that about this season, especially like the first 8 episodes seemed like its own little arc. And a lot of people have commented saying that people in the manga didn't like that arc. Oh, I love it. I think it's necessary to set up all of this. But this is going back to like the original mystery of the show. And what was so cool about season 2 and part 1 of season 3 was it was like a whodunit. It's like, okay, who's on whose side? Who's working with whom? It just had that feeling. And season 3 part 2 did not have that feeling. It was a totally different story. So I like this, but I'm at a place right now where lots of things with Zeke and Yelena and Eren are question marks. They're not being told to us yet, and I want to know more, but we're not ready. And I'm hoping the next couple episodes, like before the ending of season 4 part 1, we find out some things. Maybe. But yeah, it's so exciting. So yeah, I'm curious about Niall and Historia. I don't think Niall is a double agent. I think Niall is on Pixis and everybody else's side. Rogue, I think Rogue might be with the Jaegers because he doesn't seem to like Marlians. It's curious that Yelena has the Marlians working in odd locations. And I think Niccolo might be one of them. That's curious. I think Yelena's going to backstab all the Marlians and she's just using them to help them with their plan. And then she's going to be like, peace out. And they think that they're helping her for another reason. She's going to be like, no, you're helping us, but you're Marlian, so bye. But I don't know. Gabi and Falco being at the restaurant with the Blouse family, and it's all coming together because you have, on the one hand, Gabi and Falco potentially meeting up with Armin, Mikasa, and the others, potentially meeting up with Porco and PIECK and Reiner and them. You have that side of it, and then you have Levi with Zeke and Eren and Flock and Yelena and all this. It's like there's a stage set, and it's like we have 2 different sides that are 2 different threads of the story slowly weaving together. And I want Armin and Mikasa to talk to Eren, but I'm terrified that at this point, Armin and Mikasa think that they can still reach Eren. They can get through to him. They're his best friends. And I don't know if they can. I don't know if Eren's so committed at this point that he's like, I'm doing this and you're either with me or you're not. I don't know. And we've talked about this in the comments so many times, but Eren has vocalized how much he cares for his friends. And I'm like, you do, but you're not showing it right now. And I know some people in the comments will be like, well, he cares about them so much. This is why he's doing blah, blah, blah. Again, I don't want to be spoiled. I'll figure it out as we go. But at this point, in this episode of the series, from what we have seen of Eren so far, he is not wanting to talk with Armin and Mikasa. He is not vocalizing or communicating with them. So it's hard to say that I agree that he cares about them when he doesn't even want to involve them in anything. And so, I don't know. I guess we'll find out in episode 13, won't we? Fun times. So I've talked for nearly 2 hours. And I didn't even have a long intro this time. So there we go. But yeah, I'm very, very curious what's going to happen. Very curious. I hope y'all are too. But please feel free to comment down below. If you do have spoilers, please tag them or like leave a major space so that I don't see them and they don't show up because I'm going into studio. And if you do have like Romania Don't Read and then you skip like 8 lines and then start your comment, then I don't see it in studio. So that helps out. But yeah, please no spoilers. I'm gone to episode 13 yet. So we're in the final stretch of part 1. The stage is set. What could happen? So I'm excited to talk to y'all about it. I hope y'all are too. But in the meantime, I hope y'all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back very soon with episode 13 of Attack on Titan Season 4. Bye.